before we go, do we want to dip into some emails?
Sure.
Wildest game to dump 1,000 hours into. Dylan writes, Dylan from Canal Fulton, Ohio here. For the past several years, whenever I'd hang out with my uncle, he always wanted to play Need for Speed Unbound with me. He would show off his collection of cars and have us take turns doing races. It was always odd to me that this was the game he'd always want to play. It's not that he can't buy new games. He has a good number of newer games, but this one, for whatever reason, is the one that has stuck with him. I decided to check his hour count on Xbox and was shocked to see that he had spent over 43 days, 1,032 hours on this game. The wilder thing, he still hasn't finished the game's campaign. My question for the crew today. What's the wildest game you think you could put 1,000 hours into that's not an MMO or similar online competitive game that regularly sees that many hours played by people?
Jack and Daxter, if it wasn't for me doing a new save file each time. I think I would just keep replaying it.
Well, but you could, if you were just a cumulative, like, you know, the amount of hours you put into Jack and Daxter as a,
right,
on a meta level. Spelunky, you know, like Spelunky has end states. You know, that's an extremely difficult but basically infinitely replayable game that has a lot of depth. But, you know, I quote finish the game. You know, there's like finish the 4 worlds, and then there's the secret world, like I think Hell. I forget what exactly it's described as, and the original Spelunky, and I did that, finished that, and I was like, okay, I'm released. Like, I could play this over and over and over again, because the way that Spelunky changes like a little bit every single time makes for a completely different adventure. But I appreciated the fact that Spelunky did have hey, you did a really cool challenge. Like, do you want to do something else? It's like, yay, thank you, Spelunky. But if I was stuck in a room with a game like Spelunky, or maybe Spelunky 2, because I didn't end up playing much of Spelunky 2 because I felt like I spelunked enough with the original game. But Spelunky is just, the multiplayer in Spelunky is so incredibly good. So I think Spelunky is my answer there.
Man, 1,000 hours is so many hours.
It's a lot.
It's so many. Like,
how many hours have you put in to the most into a Total War game, though?
Right. I haven't cracked 300.
Yeah, but
1,000 is definitely wild.
If you can do 200 plus, you could do 1,000.
Yeah, I agree. But it is still. But you know what I mean? It's still
yeah.
Because I think right now, currently, my most played Total War game is 3 Kingdoms. Wow, I've basically double what I put into Shogun. I think the Shogun count is split though, because I think for a while Fall of the Samurai was counted separately, so I don't think they've collected those.
The expansion is separate from the...
It was, and then they collapsed them down into Shogun 2 again. So, like, Fall of the Samurai began as a standalone, and then it became... They just, like, folded it into the launcher, so I don't know if it was always like that. But, so, like, under 300 hours is, like, the most I've just gone sicko mode on a Total War game over the period of, like, a decade. 1,000 hours, you know what I mean? Like, you're thinking about like 3 times what you did with a game again across like 10 years at your most sicko mode. 3x that.
Yeah, the 1,000's
that's dedication.
Really high. Also, honestly, I think it's kind of impressive that you haven't finished the campaign at 1,000 hours. You know what I mean? Because it's like you just love the game. You know, you're not here to get your little pin of completionism. You know.
Chia, is this question irrelevant to you because you already have 1,000 hours in a video game?
I mean,
can you look it up?
Oh,
this is just Destiny, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that?
Yeah.
But
I
the
think we
question
might
is
have to
about,
rule
like,
Destiny
online,
out
though.
because I think it's too close to
rules
MMO.
out. Yes, it does. That's the
that's a
issue.
good point. I forgot that was
This
part
is
of
the
it.
No
issue.
online stuff. Like you can't put like Mario Kart
on.
and you're just online.
I still want to know the
kids.
answer though. If
wasted on, so there's a website for this called Time Wasted on Destiny.
Well, hang on. But hold on. I think here's the weird thing. I think it can be multiplayer. I think, like, I don't know, for some reason there's something like, to me, if Kato's like, I have 2,000 hours in like Team Fortress, I'm like, that counts.
Mm-hmm.
But Destiny
I'm not
doesn't
that
for
far.
some reason, and I don't know why I
think
feel
I
that
hit-
way.
I think I hit 502. That was the game. That was the game.
Well, Destiny wants I think the reason you would rule out an MMO or live service game is it's like it beckons you back. You're missing out on new stuff. Like you load up Team Fortress. Like I guess you're missing out on the experiences of playing a thrilling match of Team Fortress. But like you know what I mean? Like you're choosing to come back to the game in the way that person wrote in. It was like they're was it their father or grandfather is playing Need for Speed. Like they're coming back for the love of the game.
Yeah, they're
This
also
is
alone, probably.
This is just Destiny 2 on PC.
Okay.
Because I did own it on PS4, PS5.
But you switched when the PC version came out, right?
Yeah. So 902 hours.
The fact that it's not even 1,000 and it doesn't qualify.
Well, but here's
is
the
wild.
thing: I also played Destiny 1 for that amount of time, and that's all one continuous thing to me, right? Like my Destiny time absolutely breaks 1,000, easy.
Gross.
Easy.
But that's like a need based on the kind of. Well, I mean, it's not a need, I guess, because there's a campaign in Destiny, right? Like you could have left, but you stayed for the vibes. But that's and that's the thing. I think even though I think there might be there's probably online integration with Unbound. Which shout out to Need for Speed Unbound. I know I need to get back to that game. It's actually very, very solid.
Good.
I don't want to say Need for Speed is back, but it is a step up. I think from what they had been doing with that franchise prior. It has really, really cool art direction too, and just it's a good time.
I like Unbound quite a bit, and I liked Heat much more than I liked the previous. I think Heat was where I was this is not. There's some interesting stuff happening here. I think Unbound, I'm like, oh, this is delightful.
Yeah, Unbound is good. But I think the spirit of the question is you're going in and you're having fun kind of alone, or just forcing people to play it every time that they come by and kind of wrecking up a couple extra hours there as a treat. So yeah, it has to be a game where you kind of make your own fun almost.
I figured it out. I figured out a way to see all my time.
You didn't have to do this. You would not do this to yourself. You could just leave it alone.
This is not as much as I thought it would be. It's only 1,300 total.
Oh.
Amongst the two. Destiny was a little shorter.
Yeah.
Right? Destiny 2 had a longer tail on it.
Also, we have to contextualize. Unbound came out in 2022. So you're doing a lot of. You don't got that.
Shit, really?
You don't got that much time. Yes. Yeah, 2022.
Huh. Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
Good for them.
Well, apparently I'm in the
Hey,
top
Dylan, how's your
24th
uncle doing?
percentile.
3 years. You know what? Hey, how long did my scrolling on TikTok? I could be driving Need for Speed Unbound. You know what I mean?
That's great. You know what? None of this. You're right. That's a great point, because we're all like, boy, that's a crazy amount of time to spend. If we had a thing, it's here's how much time you spend on
who's
Twitter and
we?
Blue Sky.
I never shaded this Unbound, man. We need you in the community. You're probably why they'll maybe get another game in the franchise. I don't know.
Oh wait, I think my amount of time in Destiny broke this website, because actually I'm seeing.
Okay,
it
we
as
need to
much
move
higher.
on now.
You're actually in it
I'm
right now.
actually closer to 2,000.
Belatro Flames licking the screen. Just.
Speaking of, that might end up being my answer, just because it does feel I mean, it's kind of like any roguelike card game that actually gets its hooks in me, so could probably end up being the thing that I spend 1,000 hours in eventually.
They keep putting out new
But
ones.
that's
But Just Dance, I think, not for me necessarily, because I don't want to dance that much, but because it's a lot of work. Have you ever played Just Dance? That's a workout.
Yeah.
You are sweating.
It's hard.
But my dream of them just making that a live service game, but they won't, because it's it basically already is you have to pay for the extra pass to really get to dance. So it's really double the cost, And those are the conversations we aren't having, because the people that make podcast content normally don't care about Just Dance. But I've been waiting for this to be, streamlined in a way that's a little bit better. But that's a pretty fun one. But since it's annualized, if you like Just Dance that much, you're probably just buying new Just Dances to get the new songs.
I think I need to also point out that 243 hours of the time in Destiny that I just mentioned were on characters on the PS4 before I swapped to the PC version. So, that's just that's just lost time. You know, that was before they had the transfers set up. So
Those adventures, that's an investment.
No. I learned a lot.
Ring Fit Adventure, if it's your main like source of exercise, you know.
There you go.
Also, like, try being that campaign. I haven't, and I'm like, who knows how many hours in? Like, what, 40 hours into this thing? What's his name? Dragoo or whatever. I haven't been fighting this guy since like the thing launched.
Yeah.
They have
I
a new
stopped playing it
console
when I found
coming
out
out.
you brutally kill that dog at the end, and I can't get with that. So I just stopped playing Ring Fit.
I can't believe.
Oh my god.
I was really shocked how graphic apparently it gets. It was.
Before you go into can I read you a graphic? This news happened while we were recording. I'm just gonna read this to you until you figure out what the news is. HBO.
Oh yeah,
Go.
I just saw it.
HBO Now. HBO Max. And introducing today, HBO Max.
What?
Wait, what?
And I just got used to calling it
HBO.
Max too.
HBO Go. HBO Now. HBO Max. HBO Max.
Do you think they did this in response to playing Despelote? Because they mentioned the power of the HBO Max brand recognition in the game.
So funny.
And do you think they were like, they're
Oh my
right.
God.
People do see that and assume
They're
the content's
so
good.
right. That's amazing.
Just come on now.
Jesus.
Mergers are great. Corporate acquisitions, they're wonderful.
All right, I can't find. This is impossible to. I can't find anything on this, but it's a good email. Sam from Seattle writes, "Hey y'all, long time, first time. Every time I hear Rob talk about Civil War games, I think about this Starcraft Brood War custom map that I was obsessed with in the early 2000s. I have searched in vain in recent years to try and find it again. There was an overmap with a timer on it. A single unit would represent an army. You would move armies around the map and manage your economy / macro play. When your army met an opponent's, they would stop. When the timer ran down, all armies in conflict would switch to a separate battle map, also with a timer. At the end of the timer, armies would separate and movement on the overmap would continue. I rarely found enough players to make it a good game, but when I could, it was pure bliss. I feel like Rob would really get into some of the other historical custom maps in StarCraft, including a specific Battle of Gettysburg map and a map called Napoleon's Ambition, a grand strategy map where you take on the role of a European power during Napoleon's reign. I always forget how wild the StarCraft customs world got, but there is nothing I can find about the Civil War game that is being described here. It does appear to be, like, I'm not entirely sure this is not a hallucination, to be quite honest. But yes, the notion that there is, like, the notion that that people start making like hardcore historical war games in StarCraft customs is hilarious to me. I don't know if this Napoleon's Ambition thing really does pull off the assignment. It appears to be they just took a map of Europe and made it a StarCraft level. But, you know, applaud the thought.
Huh.
But yeah, if anyone can find this, like, bizarre Total War style, like, strategic / tactical, like, turn-based Civil War game, if anyone finds info about that, I'd be very curious to see what this thing looked like and how it played, because this sounds like it sort of pressed the limits of what is possible in StarCraft customs. But I'm always happy to hear about this absolute sicko stuff that was happening in StarCraft. Last question. This might be a little loaded, but subject: who was the Anthony Davis of PlayStation? Hank writes, "Hello, Remap. The recent news that Gears of War is coming to PlayStation shocked and baffled me. It was a specific feeling I've not felt since the first time I read Luka Doncic was going to the Lakers. So I was wondering if this was a trade between Microsoft and Sony in order for PlayStation to get Gears of War Reloaded, what would the horribly disproportionate washed trade from Sony's side of things be? You might be saying Gears is nowhere near the level of Luca. I would then raise the second question, what does Microsoft even have left that is a Luca equivalent of a generational talent?
Well, I also think that Luca kind of, this is just from osmosis. I don't follow basketball like that. It's like, I don't think we have a video game Luca. GTA, I think would probably be it. Like I don't think we have a first party like a from the big three. Mario, I got
GTA.
Mario's more like LeBron.
Like
it's like how many years do you got left? I don't know.
Well, that's interesting too because like I think to a degree the Luca thing is also predicated on like future upside, whereas like GTA I think is a little bit more like. That does feel like the LeBron situation where, we already know this thing's huge and it's the biggest thing in the world. So I don't know if I want to like, is it past it is a different question. I don't think GTA is, but I don't know. But yes, so like, what is if Sony is sitting there being like, yeah, we're gonna make something multi-platform. We've sort of been holding back, and everyone be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool." But like, it is cool. It is cool. It just wouldn't be like exciting.
Also, there's two parts of the question. There's like, who is PlayStation's Anthony Davis? Which I have texted my brother to see what his answer is since he's a sports basketball journalist. And there's also. I get the person writing in is like, I get that Gears isn't the level of Luca, but what would Xbox's Luca be? I think Xbox's biggest IP is probably at this point like Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Like has like historical relevance, but also has like still good content and is also still exciting. No,
Which is why it can't be Halo, right?
Yeah, because Halo
Infinite was good.
was it? Because I feel like the fact that I have to ask makes me think it's not really that good.
God.
Because the streets were not drooling over Halo Infinite.
The Halo Infinite, like, throw away all the story. I don't care for the convoluted, like Halo Infinite was like a good game to play. Like the open world Halo, fun, cool idea. And I don't play the multiplayer anymore, but apparently they got that to an excellent place where like Halo multiplayer, it doesn't hit in the same. It's just not as popular as it used to be, but like they did an excellent job making an excellent Halo multiplayer. All I'm saying is like part of if you buy into the Luca thing is that like yes, like he's an incredible player, but like my man loves his beer. Apparently, it's not working out in the gym. He's not conditioned the way he used to be. But like if he put it all together, couldn't it be beautiful? And like Halo, like component parts are not broken. If you put it all together, got in the lab,
But I think
system.
like I mean we saw how Luca locked in when he played against like because where did he come from? The Mavericks, right? Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, and he basically dragged them to the finals.
Yes.
They get at the top overall draft.
Yeah, like Halo's not locking in like Luca is. Like it just isn't, Halo's there. Like I think the lack of Halo has one more, I think, entry before we start to say, hey, is this kind of not what it is? It not going to hit that glory again? I think
that
because
happened. I think that happened.
Yeah.
I'm just defending Halo Infinite. I'm not defending the perception of it.
So here we go. So because I'm like, okay, I know PlayStation. I don't really know Anthony Davis, but my brother knows Anthony Davis and PlayStation. So I said, can you tell me how? Well, first I said, is Anthony Davis washed? And he said, no. Is this Patrick hating again? and then I said,
Anthony Davis.
Can you tell me how good Anthony Davis is, and also tell me who is PlayStation's Anthony Davis? His response: Anthony Davis is an All NBA future Hall of Famer and has accomplished everything he can, minus a DPOY and an MVP award.
Defensive
Somehow
player.
underrated. Yeah, thank you. Somehow underrated because some people use a few injuries in the past to dismiss him. And then I said, what's PlayStation's Anthony Davis? And he says, Ratchet and Clank. Which I think is actually, like, based on the description of Anthony Davis,
Pretty good one.
that's pretty good because Ratchet and Clank always putting out good to great games.
Mm-hmm.
However, I look at Ratchet and Clank and I find myself wanting more because I really know that genre, and I know Ratchet and Clank, and it's like, I know you're not really like doing all you could be doing. Like, some of your best times are kind of behind you, you know, the like OG kind of trilogy, up your arsenal, like all that other stuff.
Platformers just don't say how they used to do. Like that last Ratchet and Clank, that PS5 launch game, fucking awesome. Great game. I'm sorry that it wasn't Spider-Man 2. That's not my fault.
See, but it's not that it's not Spider-Man 2. It's that it's not like a crack in time. Like, I feel like Ratchet doesn't get into an ideas bag anymore. Like, you're giving out the same stuff you've always given, and it's still great because you're good at making cool weapons, you're good at making levels that are fun to traverse, you have incredible visuals, you have incredible technology, you have an incredible team, but you're not iterating, you're not growing. And that's why, like, to longtime fans like myself and many others, there's a bit of stagnation and disappointment in Ratchet. But if you haven't been following Ratchet as closely, you're like, what are you talking about? This is just a great game. But if you really know, you know that, like, you're not doing all that you could be doing. I want more from Ratchet.
Right.
And I think maybe some people want more from Anthony Davis. I don't know. So that's, there we go.
Anthony Davis is, if you know, but people just don't know, like, how big is Astrobot? If you know, you know.
No, I think Astrobot's, though, like, Astrobot's closer to Luca than it is. I think what we're looking for, like good, but not talked about. Does PlayStation own Media Molecule?
Yeah.
That could be something.
Yeah.
That's in there.
Dreams is
That's
great.
in there.
Sony
They're fumbling dreams.
Sony
Yeah.
crushed the dreams of dreams.
Yeah.
Is what happened there.
So
something brilliant.
That comes to mind because I think, and I also think Media Molecule, the idea of them being third party, I also think would be very accepted by like the wider community, because there is this feeling of you want like your strong IP to be exclusive so that you can kind of like bolster not just the brand, but also like create an identity to the console. Like, I think too often like people dismiss like the conversation on exclusivity to say, oh, it's just weirdo stands that care about that. Anyone who really loves games loves like them being everywhere. And it's like, well, as someone who actually does see the value in exclusives, like I kind of push back on that. I think part of the fun of what we have in the console space is identity, it's ideology. That's hardware, but it's also software. And it's the idea that playing on different places, like, you get different things from different spaces. And there's fun in that, and there's intrigue in that, and there's competition in that. And I think to that end, the idea of, it's not that Media Molecule isn't like an incredible studio, because I really love them, but I think, especially in the context of Dreams not really taking off like it could, and the idea of, oh, well, maybe if it was in more places, like, I think there's that feeling that PlayStation isn't exactly bolstering up Media Molecule, and not to be rude, Media Molecule isn't exactly carrying the PlayStation brand either. So I think people would actually kind of be excited to see Media Molecule have like a third-party opportunity, in the sense of them having maybe more options to get what are inherently niche ideas. There's also a risk in that too. Maybe PlayStation's, helping with some of those, like maybe there's safety in having them at PlayStation. So I don't think it would all be like cheers, but I think there would be that conversation of, hey, maybe this is going to be better for future Media Molecule projects. Well, I don't think that conversation would be the same with, like, I don't know, Naughty Dog or something, where it's like, well, PlayStation's losing Naughty Dog more so than, no one's really going to say they're losing Media Molecule. I think the focus would be on Media Molecule itself and not like the PlayStation brand. So that could be Anthony Davis, to go into the question. A second, there are two Anthony Davis options I present to you. A second Anthony Davis is hit the PlayStation Pro that will soon be cost extra. Buy it now if you want to save like $50. I don't know. But then it's like, we were going to buy it anyway, so you're not really saving $50. But tell yourself what you need to when you make the purchase. I'm not. Wow. That's between you and your budget. Okay, it's not. I got nothing to do with me. My name is Paul. That's between y'all.
They're kind of due for something, aren't they? I forgot how long ago Dreams was.
Yeah, and they're working on something.
They had layoffs.
Yes?
So once Dreams got Dreams is a weird thing. They should have ported it to PC and opened up that tool set. It was they made some really brilliant stuff, and just the lack of creativity on like putting that on platforms where it could have flourished is really what ended up crushing. I think Dreams would have had I don't know if it would have been a wild success, but it would have had a real shot if it was on PC. And when they shut that whole project down, they haven't said what they're working on next.
You assholes could have built light side Roblox.
Pretty much, yeah.
It pains me to say that a third Anthony Davis is in the podcast. Okay. My brother presents Horizon. You know, in terms of the description of Anthony Davis that I've gotten from this write-in,
nope,
and that I've gotten contextually, nope. What do you mean?
Horizon is Carl Anthony
Expound.
Towns.
Is who? What?
I know who Cat is, but
I don't know.
Feels like should be able to hold this thing down, but
he's been really good. He's been really good in this series, though.
Like Horizon has gotten actually better as it's gone along. Where it starts out like, okay, like, yeah, it's cool,
like
big fucking dinosaur robots. That's neat. And then it's like, huh.
Actually, they're animal dinosaur. Anyway, but I just don't mention it because I can never get anyone to talk about the game. So I never correct them because I'm like, oh my God, we're probably talking about Horizon. No, I mean, I've been saying for forever that, like, even if you're very critical on Horizon, it is at minimum a good to maybe even great game. Yeah. Like, even with you being like, this is kind of basic, which I admit it is kind of basic. But aren't many games that are much more, you know, I'm sorry. Again, if you like Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think you can talk about
okay,
Horizon.
what's going on here? Wait, what the fuck's happening here?
I'm sorry, like, okay, yeah, well, you think, you know, you're so different because you have your wind, and your wind is good, and it is smart, and it is cute, but you're mostly just going around checking boxes. You're going and getting your little flags, you're going and you're sitting in your hot tub, and it's the same thing as me climbing those tall necks. You know, potato, it's like day and later that day, okay?
Wow.
The tower's a tower.
We got a little...
a tower's a tower.
The Janet...
Except one of these has an actually beautifully executed aesthetic. And another is just shellacked in oversaturated colors. And it's like, look, it's an animal that I put LEDs on. Cool.
The LEDs help you spot the weak points, so it's not like it doesn't have functionality. I think one has a great combat system, and one has a combat system that gets great over time and takes too long to get good, I think, in a lot of ways.
I'm actually not going to win this argument because Jazz played way more of these games than I have. Like I was like, they're both neat.
Yeah, how
they're both
far
neat.
did you get into?
I think the truth is critics are obsessed with samurais, and they don't care about the animal dinosaurs. I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference. We could talk about why that is. But hey, you know, we can talk about why that is. I'm sure you would know, Rob. I'm sure you would know.
Wow.
You know nothing of Ninjo and Giri.
Yeah.
All right, well, that concludes another episode of Remap Radio. This was produced by Gia Contreras.